Welcome to another episode of the It Ain't Wrong to Be Strong podcast series brought to you by RAMMFIT. Law-bound masculine insight and wisdom from life experience. We know it's true because we've lived it. Enjoy the episode. In today's episode, I want to talk about something called self-governance, and I think it's an important topic that most of us should be looking into and exploring and finding the meaning of, especially in modern-day society. Most men, all of us, every man on the planet should be researching and looking into what self-governing means. And just because you get onto Google and you look at something and you research a topic, it doesn't make you a conspiracy theorist. Even the lefties out there, the woke lefties, will jump on Google and look at something, whether it's Google Earth or Maps or, they want to know the meaning of something or whatever it is, they will get on Google. But in the next breath, they'll tell you that, you did your research online and, you checked Google and, it's a comedy. It's a shit show. Google is there for surface level explanations only. And most of the time, it will tell you what it wants you to know. And most of the time, they're half-truths. Like I said, they are surface level explanations. It's exoteric meaning it's for the masses because most people cannot handle the truth. They only want comforting lies because it appeals to their way of life. It appeals to their beliefs. It appeals to their opinions. So people do not want the truth because it shatters illusion. But at the end of the day, Google is a great place to start. So, I encourage you to get on Google and check out the meaning of self-governing or self-governance. Now, the other thing we need to understand is, being self-governed and autonomous, it doesn't mean that you live outside of the law. It doesn't mean that you're a lawbreaker. It doesn't mean that you're an outlaw in the way that the government describes what an outlaw is. It doesn't mean you're a criminal. It doesn't mean you're into organized crime. It doesn't mean you're into money laundering and all that kind of shit. These are the things that the government wants you to think self-governing and being autonomous is. And the reason I don't use sovereignty or being sovereign is because it's an overused word and it's misused, misinterpreted, and the government loves it. They love hanging shit on people who use the word sovereign. But it's okay for the government to use it because they're a sovereign nation, right? They're a sovereign government. They'll tell you this all the time. But we don't live outside of the law because law is boundary. You must live inside of the boundaries, otherwise you'll be sent to prison. So people who tell you that they are a sovereign citizen, they're living off the grid, it's bullshit because you have to register your car. You have to go to the hospital. There's a lot of things that you have to do and you must do it. Otherwise you face penalties, whether it's prison, fines, segregation. There's a wide range of penalties that that comes with being a criminal and living outside of the law. And you have to live inside of the boundaries. It's just life. It's living in the physical world. You have boundaries. You are bound by the law. But law is a very interesting word in itself because LAW is God's law. LAW, law. Law, LORE, is nothing but a story, and it doesn't have to be true. It's just a story. It can be encoded with symbolism or metaphors and that kind of stuff, but it's just a law. LORE is a story. When people tell you out there, they're sovereign citizens and they only have, they only live by the LORE law, just ignore them because they're actually putting themselves into a lot of trouble. They actually don't know the meaning of law. Law, LAW, is living in alignment with God's law at the end of the day. That's what it is. That's why they're called spiritual laws, LAWS. Anyway, so going back to self-governing, it's important that you understand the true meaning of self-governance. It just means you have internal order. And when you have internal order, when you're governing your own mind, when you're limiting distractions, I mean, everybody at the end of the day, we're all distracted in some way or another. You know, a few times a year, I like to sit down and watch the rugby. And for an hour and a half or whatever, I'm distracted. My mind is being consumed by the TV. But that's where self-governance comes in. You don't sit down every weekend and watch the football religiously. Then you are distracted. Then you've lost control of your own mind. And in Australia, it's called Magic Round. And that's the NRL, or the National Rugby League. So every year, I think it's a couple of times a year actually, they have Magic Round. And all of the teams play in one weekend in one city. And they're all there. And people go mad over it. There's like stadiums full of people. And they are cheering on their favourite rugby league team. And that team is full of people that they don't even know. And they probably wouldn't even like if they met them in real life and had to associate with them. But here they are in the grandstands, in the crowd, cheering on. They've just lost their mind. They're going apeshit over a team full of people that they don't even know. And all they're doing is sitting back in the grandstand. They're sitting up in the crowd and they're watching other people on $1 million salaries, $10 million a year, I don't know, $2, $5, $7, $10 million a year. They're watching people earning ridiculous amounts of money live their best life. That's why it's called Magic Round. You have lost your mind. You are under a magic spell. And that is the meaning of Magic Round. It's in plain sight, magic. So self-governance, it doesn't mean that you don't kick back and unwind, every now and then and watch a game that I love rugby union. I love watching the All Blacks play. And I do it twice, maybe 3 times a year. And I look forward to it. And I understand what it's doing. It's keeping you distracted. But self-governance is understanding that, you don't sit down and watch it religiously week after week and then switch on to a new sport, cricket or motor racing or whatever it is. You are being consumed. You are dedicating your spare time. You're staying up late and tired for work the next day. You don't have any energy to do anything else because you're not self-governing. You are not being disciplined and saying, hey, enough's enough. I've got to stop this shit and I've got to start building the life that I want to be living in 5 to 7 years. This is the beginning of self-governance. And you can't do it unless you take control of your own mind, because your mind is the gate and it's under your control because you have free will. So do I. Everybody does. We all do. But if you are being distracted every weekend, every second night of the week, there's NRL on TV. I'm only using the examples in Australia, but maybe it's gridiron in your country. Maybe it's soccer. These are all great games and they're definitely talented and disciplined sportsmen. But at the end of the day, you don't know them. They're making millions and millions of dollars a year because it keeps you distracted. They keep you distracted. And the better they play and the more talented they are, the more you're going to watch it. So, in turn, the more they're getting paid. But at the end of the day, it's a magic spell. You are consumed. You are obsessed with these people. You are obsessed with these teams. And that's not self-governance. So don't forget, it's not that you're a bad person. None of us are bad. It just means that you've lost control of your own mind. So the idea of self-governance is to take control of your own mind and direct your energy into worthwhile endeavors. And I think it's Bob Proctor who once said that success is being able to control your own mind and direct your energy into worthwhile endeavors, and you are progressively moving forward in the direction of your own hopes, dreams, goals, and ambitions. If you are consciously guarding your time and your mind, but you are directing your energy into worthwhile endeavors and things that are going to help you live up to your true and fullest potential, maybe it's leading your family. Maybe it's making more money. Maybe it's buying more cars. Because at the end of the day, the definition of rich is not having more money. You can be rich and have a lot of money, but you can also be rich in friendship. You can be rich in, lawnmowers. If you love lawnmowers and you collect lawnmowers, you can be rich in lawnmowers. You can be rich in cars. You can be rich in friends. So the idea of self-governing is directing your energy and your mind and your time into things of your own choosing. Worthwhile endeavors. Now, what's worthwhile to me is not worthwhile to you. I'm building a brand. I'm building a podcast. I'm building, many things. But to you, it's not worthwhile. But to me, it is. So worthwhile is a different definition to everybody else. And it doesn't matter. What matters is that you're directing your own mind into worthwhile endeavors and making the world a better place. As a result, you're helping people. You're being of service. So going back to self-governing, I think there's a book out by Jocko Willink called, well, I know there is because I've read it. There's a book out by Jocko Willink called Discipline Equals Freedom. Right. So it's not discipline that gives you freedom. Self-governance is discipline. Because you need to have discipline if you want to govern your own mind. You need to be disciplined to understand that I'm not going to watch NRL every weekend. I'm going to direct my energy into making more money, into stock markets, shares, buying and selling shares, crypto, building a business, writing a book, building a company, whatever it is. That's self-governance. That's discipline, and it takes discipline. So discipline doesn't equal freedom. Because you can be disciplined with many things, right? You can, someone who overeats ice cream, they're disciplined. It's not a good discipline, but it's still discipline. They're stuffing their face every week. It's not every week, every day, right? So they're disciplined. It's just not the kind of discipline that helps you get fit. It's the kind of discipline you need to get fat. But that's the inversion. So discipline is a half-truth. It's true. You do need discipline to have or be self-governing. But discipline doesn't equal freedom. Self-governance equals freedom. Because if you can't control your own mind, if you can't govern yourself, then, as I said earlier, order will be imposed on you and you won't like it. Now, all you have to do is look at the people who work, in a day job for a living, and we've all been there. We all do it because we need to. But we need to understand that working in a job and exchanging time for a paycheck should be a buffer. It's not your identity. It should be a buffer. That's it. So, self-governing is saying, okay, I've got to go to work and I've got to earn an income to pay the bills. But at the same time, I'm going to build myself up. I'm going to build a company. I'm going to build a side hustle. I'm going to build other income streams so that I am not reliant on the government. Because when you are totally reliant on the government, then you have to do exactly what the government wants you to do. You have to do exactly what your employer wants you to do. You have zero freedom. But when you impose internal order, whether it's in your own body, whether it's in your own mind, you will have freedom. If you can build a side hustle or a few income streams other than your job, your day job, you have options. And the man who only has one option has none. So your job is to be self-governing, building income streams, building a business, a side hustle. And it's not about money, it's about freedom. It's about having options. And that gives you freedom. But you need to have discipline to have options. And you need to self-govern. And it's a very important word. And I really want you guys to understand and to look into what it means. Do as much research on Google as you need to, but look into the meaning of self-governance and being autonomous. Forget the word sovereign. It's overused and the government love to, apply it to conspiracy theorists. But it's a very important word, autonomy. It doesn't mean being outside of the law. It just means you are self-governed. In your mind, in your body, with your time, with your thoughts, with your energy, and you're not under a magic spell. Anyway, guys, I hope you got the message. I hope you understand. It's very important for you and your family and your community to be self-governing, because you've got freedom and you've got options. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, guys. I'll check in with you soon with another episode. And until then, stay sharp. And more importantly, stay aligned. It's very important. Have a great day. Cheers.